Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, I'm Dean with Old English Outfitters, and today we're going to be discussing the pros and cons of carrying a modified handgun. So a big trend nowadays is people carrying modified handguns, or what some people might call tricked out or souped up handguns. You see it all over Instagram, social media, Facebook, wherever. People posting pictures of, their Glock that they've had the slide milled, and it's a different color, or it's camo, and it's got a red dot on top and a light on the bottom, and the grip's been shaped and all this stuff, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but there's a different school of thought that might get you into some legal trouble should you have to use your gun to defend yourself. While I don't think that that's necessarily true, I do think that there is such a thing as too much, and while there is a lot of excellent manufacturers who make aftermarket parts for Glocks, 1911s, really any kind of handgun you could possibly want, a lot of that stuff is not necessary, and is more preference, and I don't know that it has really a place on a carry gun that isn't going to see a lot of range time. So next, we're going to go to the table and talk about that. Okay, so just as a frame of reference for what we're going to be talking about, we have a couple of my carry guns and then one of the owner, Evan's carry guns. Now, as you can see, these have some pretty varying modifications, all the way from very basic up to kind of, I don't want to say tricked out, but you can tell there's been some stuff done to this gun. So what we're going to talk about basically is justifiable modifications, and then kind of interpreting that into a court setting. How would you say that should you be asked about it? So the main thing is you need to be able to say, this helped me improve the function of my firearm. So for one reason or another, what I did gave me the ability to shoot my gun better, manipulate my gun better, use it more accurately. However that can be interpreted, you need to be able to articulate that in a courtroom, just as a general rule of thumb. So, for example, these are both 19s, a Gen 2 and a Gen 3. They both have either a shaping job and then a stipple job with an undercut, or just a little bit of an undercut. That is because both mine and Evan's hands are rather large. As you can see with just me manipulating stuff on the table, we have pretty darn big hands. So a Glock 19 frame is concealable for us, but the grip ends up being a little bit small in our hands. So we do this undercut to give us better purchase on the firearm. Better purchase on the firearm allows for stronger manipulation of the grip of that firearm and therefore more accurate fire at extended ranges or in rapid succession. So there you go, justification. What I did to improve my function of the firearm. Both of these Glock 19s have an alternative trigger shoe. Now triggers can be a little bit tricky. You can see these are both just billet anodized aluminum shoes, but they do not interfere with the safety mechanism in any fashion. All that they have done is give you a different shaped shoe on a stock Glock OEM trigger bar, and that is a drop-in replacement. So there's no polishing to any surfaces, there's no changing of any spring weights. All these do is give you a little bit better leverage over the trigger and a little bit more comfortable surface for the pad of your finger to interact with the firearm. So because I have such big fingers, I wanted something with a little bit less aggressive of a hook and a flatter face, because my big old mozzarella stick fingers kind of don't feel good on a stock Glock trigger shoe. So that's a little bit more comfortable for me. I get a little bit better press straight back into the firearm, allowing for more accurate fire and, again, more sustainable fire in rapid succession of shots. So that's why I did that, just because my fingers, I feel like that helps me manipulate my gun better. Honestly, that's my reasoning. Same with kind of the overall form factor of this gun. That helps me manipulate the gun in a better way. Now, I will say one thing. These are both very subtle guns. You see there is a little bit of marking, or as I call it, tiger striping on the slide of this gun. The slide was a gift to me, so that's the only reason it's still like that. I do think it looks cool, but that was not my choice. I didn't put it on there. It does not aid in the function of the firearm at all. Unlike maybe the cuts on this weapon here, it doesn't aid to the function. So that is not something I could justify. There's no reason why you would want an almost camo-looking pattern on your firearm. So at some point in time, I think I am going to pay to have that recoated in whatever coating of my choice just to get it re-blacked. But for right now, that's how it sits. I don't know. There's no real justification behind it. It's just how it was given to me, so that's how it sits on the gun. The slide on the Shadow Systems Glock, which we talked about, you've seen in a previous video, we've already discussed this, but let me go over it again. The things that they have done to this slide are to improve the function. Shadow Systems is a duty or carry-oriented aftermarket parts company. So everything that they do to improve the function of the gun and nothing more. There's nothing fancy about this gun. There's no big branding symbols. There's nothing to say, oh, wow, that looks really cool, other than just the fashion and function markings that have been added. They put pockets into the top of the slide, not windows all the way through, just pockets to lighten the weight. That's going to decrease the overall weight of the gun, ease of carry, different discussion, and make the gun cycle faster. Faster cycling is faster time down on target, getting that front sight back down onto what you're shooting at. There you go, faster follow-up shots, very important in a self-defense situation. They increase the aggressiveness of the angle and the aggressiveness of the cut for both your rear serrations and then adding front serrations. Much easier to grip and manipulate this slide in a self-defense situation. You're worried, your stress is making your fine motor skills degrade, so this is going to be much easier to just grab and rack should you need to reload. It's grabbing into your hands. You don't have to worry about how you're grabbing this gun, whether it be forward of the chamber or rearward of the chamber. Now, another one I haven't talked about, this is the 43. That's my summertime, t-shirt only gun. I've done a couple things to it. I have added an extended magazine, and I've put night sights. Night sights, you will find, are a common form factor on all of these guns. I don't think you should ever have to justify night sights. It allows you to more accurately use your firearm in a nighttime setting. Most crimes are going to happen at night, including muggings, robberies, assaults, whatever you have. So adding night sights allows you to present accurate fire in that situation, as opposed to what some would argue is blindly firing your gun. You know the general direction it's pointing, but you can't be precise with it, so you don't know really where that bullet's going to go as far as it's going in front of me, and that's about it. So night sights are something I feel is a necessity on every handgun, whether it be for carry, for home defense, even for, just range toy. I prefer to have night sights because I want all of my guns to be functional in any setting that I might have them. So night sights you're going to have across the board. My 19 here has some standard just Trijicon 3 dots. I mean, nothing special there. Evan's gun has some Novak sights on it because he likes the stackable front and rear dot. And then these are going to have, my Glock 43 has Ameriglow sights with tritium inserts in a blacked rear and then a big dot front, because that big dot is just very easy for me to present. I got bad eyes, so if orange is on target, I know it's going to be a decent shot. I also have an extended magazine. I talked about how big my hands are. With this gun being as small as it is, I have trouble holding it if I do not have an extended magazine. There's just so little there for me to hold. It snaps in my hand a lot. Faster follow-up shots are almost impossible for me unless I absolutely manhandle that gun and just grab the whole thing. So adding this extended magazine gives me more sustainable fire, adding 2 rounds, and gives me a place to grip the bottom. And I don't have trouble concealing this because I can conceal a bigger gun with the wardrobe that I have and the clothes that I wear. So I enjoy an extended magazine on this gun. I don't have extended mags on either of these guns because I just don't need it. It doesn't add to the grip for me. I don't feel that I need to add anything aftermarket. I will carry a Glock 17 magazine with either of these because you'll have the 15 rounder in the gun and then a longer magazine as a reload. Because if you have to reload after 15 rounds, you're in a really freaky situation, and I'm not really worrying about that so much because things have gone very, very, very wrong if you're reloading a 15-round magazine in a self-defense situation. So we're talking active shooter stuff where you're worried about putting down a threat and defending yourself above anything legal. So 17 magazine, that's OEM, that's not aftermarket, so you wouldn't have any trouble with that at all. The last thing I'll talk about is going to be lights. This is going to be the closest thing to what you'll see on social media, like I mentioned earlier. It's got a stipple job, it's got a light on the front. Red dots are great. I don't have anything against red dots. I do think if you use them, they help you get on target faster. They're very much easier to use. Just the basic construction of your eye, it's taking out several different planes of focus, so you can look at your target, red dots on target, squeeze the trigger, as opposed to having to focus and refocus on 3 or 4 different things. So they are faster once you get used to using them and used to presenting your gun in a way that is repeatable, so that dot's always in the window, it's always visible. So I have nothing against those. I just am used to iron sights and don't have the money to put a red dot on this gun. That's simple enough. I might try it someday, but iron sights are just fine for me. I can be very accurate with this firearm as it is, so I haven't put the money into it yet. But that's, again, something you'd have to justify, This gun allows me to be very accurate and much quicker with my shots, ending whatever threat may be presenting itself to myself, my loved ones, or any other bystander nearby. That's why I have it on there. Bam, justifiable. Lights, I have for the same reason, or I have on my carry gun here, I have for the same reason that I have night sights. Low light or no light shooting, there is one very important thing that you need in any self-defense situation. Positive identification of a threat or non-threat. The reason I have this light is I want to be able to draw my weapon if I feel threatened. Okay, I've drawn my weapon, or I have used my flashlight first that I have, a little handheld flashlight. I say, okay, that is definitely a threat. I draw my weapon, there's another light, because I want to make sure I know exactly what I'm shooting at all times. Or if you don't carry a flashlight, another discussion again, you draw this weapon and you turn this light on, okay, that guy is carrying a spoon and he's drunk. It's not a threat at all, so I reholster my weapon. So I think that a light is very much necessary because you never know when you're going to need your gun, and odds are it might be dark. So I like to have a light on there. Also, it does act as a kind of standoff for if you're in very, very close and you're about to be harmed or something like that. It's very helpful to be able to push somebody off of you and kind of determine if there is need for a shot. But I'm not an educator, I'm not an instructor, so take that as my opinion, as you should. Also, it just adds some weight down to the front of the muzzle, bringing my front sight down a little bit faster, making it more easily to manipulate that gun and get my front sight back down for faster shots. So, as fast as I've talked, I've said a lot of things. The main thing is, and the main idea of this whole video is, what you have on your gun, as a general rule of thumb, should be justifiable as helping you to function that firearm more safely and more accurately, no matter the situation. You shouldn't add things to your gun you don't need. Colors, maybe a rear plate that has a Punisher symbol on it or says infidel or whatever. Yeah, that stuff is cool. I got nothing against it. I don't want it on my carry gun because I don't want anyone to be able to say, yeah, it was a good self-defense shooting, but he had Punisher on his gun, so he was looking to punish somebody. That's why he shot him instead of just running away. I don't think there's any documented cases of that actually factoring into a court decision of a self-defense shooting. Either it is a good shooting or it's not. Either you should have shot that person or you shouldn't, and they determine that, not the quality of your gun, your brand of your gun. That has not played a factor to date as of the making of this video. So I really do think, though, you should err on the side of caution. I don't need a red dot sight. I don't need a threaded barrel with a compensator. I don't need a big old extended mag on my carry gun because the odds of me needing 18 rounds on the first draw of my gun are very unlikely. I should be able to take care of business, as it were, with 15 rounds, which comes standard in a 19, or one reload into a Glock 43 or some kind of subcompact pistol if I'm, out running in a sketchy neighborhood or far away from my house, or if I'm just wearing cargo shorts and a t-shirt and I don't have the wardrobe or the room to carry a bigger gun and actually conceal it, then I'll have something smaller. You need to be able to justify what you carry. Now, all of what I've said is a good matter of opinion. I think it's a good opinion, but research what you will. Please take it as my opinion. This is not fact. I am not a lawyer. I am not an instructor as of yet, so this is all a matter of opinion and good common sense being asserted to a situation. If you don't need it, don't put it on your gun. Simple as that. So after looking at a few examples of what I myself carry and what our owner carries as well, you can see that while those aftermarket parts from certain manufacturers really can aid in the function of your gun, those are really the only parts that I would think you should use. All those different things that are for aesthetics and just kind of the looking cool of your gun, I think that should be on a range toy piece, and your carry gun should be as basic as you feel it needs to be. If you really have big hands and you want to shape that grip down so it fits in your hand better and you have better manipulation of the firearm, if your finger doesn't feel good on the stock trigger shoe and you want to replace that without interfering with any safeties, feel free, go ahead. Just remember, you need to be able to justify, or should be able to justify, all the changes that you've made. Because you don't want to get a jerky defense attorney saying, hey, this guy was looking to go out and hunt some people and try and give you some trouble. And while there is no documented cases of that actually happening, and people who defend themselves with their firearm with a licensed CCW actually facing legal charges for their modifications, it's pretty easy to imagine that happening. As always, be safe with your gun. Educate yourself so that you know what you're doing in a self-defense situation. Not every situation calls for you to draw your firearm. Look to Defensive Training Solutions for proper education. Shameless plug. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please like this video, leave a comment in the comment section, and subscribe to our channel. I'm Dean with Old English Outfitters, and we will see you next week.